let's go on to the next team, and it is Mr. Fleming's third favorite team in the entire NFL. He calls them irrelevant. So, Megan, typically I would start with you, but I'm going to give Alex the floor on this one because it is the Cleveland Browns. Now, look, this is Cleveland's opportunity, if you will, to elevate themselves to that next level. They finally broke the plateau and made it back to the postseason. But now, how do they capitalize and move forward? Mr. Fleming, I see that smile on your face from ear to ear, my brother. So, of course, I'm going to let you go first and talk about, like I said, your third favorite team. They might even be your fourth in the Cleveland Browns, sir.
I actually like the Falcons better than these bums. Cleveland, this is for you. I want to talk about that guy, Baker Mayfield, who had more commercials than W's before last year. I want to talk about that bum, Baker Mayfield, who couldn't even clear 3,000 yards last year. I want to talk about that clown, Baker Mayfield, who almost lost to Jacksonville, and I saw that with my own two eyes, with an all-star roster. I want to talk about that douche, Baker Mayfield, who wants to plant a flag in Ohio State, but can't even carry the state of Ohio. They played their Super Bowl once they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are already tanked and already drunked out. Somebody gave them a rupee week 12. All right, congratulations. You beat a team that was already beaten. Now, all of a sudden, you want to be paper champions. Ooh, we got your David Clowney. Ooh, OBJ's going to come back, and you played better without him. We got the best wide receiver core. You have a running back who doesn't get the credit he deserves, and you have a kicker that also plays running back. Sorry, Kareem Hunt, I had to. Here's my point. Stefanski's not going to save you. You guys are going to go 11-6, make the playoffs, and absolutely no promises. And all of this TikTok nonsense about you being a Super Bowl contender, you have a better chance of admitting Tyree is not a Lakers fan because of LeBron. You guys are fakes, fraudulent, irrelevant, clowns, scams, con artists. You should be not stealing people's money, selling tickets to a sold-out Cleveland Rock Stadium because you bums are going to let people down because that's what you do. That's what you guys have been doing since Jim Brown left your punk asses. You're fraudulent. And I'm going to enjoy watching you struggle the entire time during the season. Go up and down, and barely make the playoffs just to see you get.
So even with all that, sir, you're still saying they go 11-6. I find that interesting.
They make the playoffs. They make the playoffs. That's
all right.
it.
All right. So, Megan Price, based on what Mr. Fleming is saying, is it fair enough to kind of assess that we're calling the Cleveland Browns the new Cincinnati Bengals, if you will, great during the regular season, but can't win in the postseason, even though they did, their level of they have a ceiling, if you will.
I think it depends on who they play in the postseason. I don't think they've quite hit their ceiling as far as improving. I do think they've improved. It pains me to say it. I'm a diehard UT fan. I hate OU, and Baker is an OU quarterback. Like, I hate OU. It's just in me. But I think that he has improved, and their 1-2 running back positions are very good. Like, they're definitely above Zeke now. So I have Cleveland doing really well. I don't think they beat Kansas City. I think they lose to Arizona as well. I think they split with Pittsburgh and Baltimore. And let's see. Green Bay. Green Bay. Yeah, Green Bay. They lose to Green Bay as well. So I got them at 12-5.
Wow. Okay. 12-5. Mr. John Shearer.
First of all,
talk to me about Cleveland.
I want to give props to that schedule. That Tecmo Bowl look, that brings me back, man. I love that Tecmo Bowl look. As soon as you brought that up, oh, man, that brings me back to the Sega Genesis. Ooh, I love that. I got these guys going 10-6. That's about where they be. I mean, I don't think they got any better, really. They're still limited. At 10-7, I'm sorry. You know what I mean. Anyway, they're limited whenever it comes to their passing game because Baker, he's not really – he plays off the play action, which is great, but he's not going to carry you. The running game's fantastic. Give him all the credit in the world. But they're limited whenever it comes to passing the ball. like Alex said, with OBJ, they're actually worse. I don't know how it's possible, but they were a better team without OBJ last year. And Baker seems to be a better quarterback without him. So OBJ is going to be back. He's not going anywhere unless he tears another ACL or kicks a field goal post or something. I don't know. But this team's about 10-7. That's where they lie. They're not any better than that. Once you start getting about 12 wins, that's when you start talking elite, and they're not even close to elite. So I'm going to give them 10-7. I think they miss the playoffs because there's a lot of strong teams vying for that wild card. So I think they actually miss the playoffs at 10-7.
I hate to interject because I know Michael's over here about to burst at the fumes. There's only 3 things I like about Cleveland. One of them's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They're solid for that. Number 2, Marcus Wilson. He would have been a first-round pick if he didn't stay at Florida State. He stayed at Florida State and he went undrafted. He had to take a contract for $192,000. Trust and believe that man is going to get his money. I'm actually rooting for you, and I despise the Cleveland Steamers, but I'm rooting for you. Number 3, Anthony Schwartz. Pick him up in your fantasy squad, bro. Anthony Schwartz of Auburn. When you think of Anthony Schwartz, you think of speed. He's a speed demon and actually a better wide receiver than OBJ. Yeah, that one-handed catch, and he hasn't done anything since. Yeah, unless you're playing Dallas, you don't show out. Watch for Anthony Schwartz. He can make a name for himself on this roster. But other than that, the Cleveland Browns need to be flush.
Well, thank you, Eric, for singling me out right now because nobody mentioned Jarvis Landry, who is an absolute stud. A. B, the running game. Yes, we've heard about that. The best tandem in the league. I don't hear anybody else is even close numbers-wise, and especially how these guys run, what they can do. I will say this. Everybody you're talking about defense where, again, they got better. They seem to get Greg Newsome, who everybody loved out of Northwestern, thought he could have been one of those first corners taken. And I get it, the guys that were there. But Newsome just kind of fell to the Browns, going little defense there. Yes, Pittsburgh obviously had the slide. And I mean, Pittsburgh rested dudes because they figured they would have beat Cleveland the next week. And they didn't. And then, of course, Alex seems to forget that they were really hanging with the Chiefs until, the fourth quarter, middle of the fourth. So that's okay. I mean, I'm no Cleveland fan, and believe me, especially it's always funny to have a laughing stock, Cleveland and Detroit being somewhat close to each other and always being terrible. But that being said, yes, I do believe they lose to the Chiefs week 1. Houston, well, of course, that's a win because anybody that plays Houston, you know how I feel, is going to win. The Bears game will be interesting. It's in Cleveland. We'll see how that is. I think they beat the Vikings. The Chargers, to me, that's a game. By that time, I think we'll start seeing who the Chargers really are, and I expect them to improve. I feel they do lose to the Cardinals. Denver, yeah, not sold on Denver. And then Pittsburgh, again, division opponent. That's a home game. I would give it to them. I'll say they split in the division and go 3-3. But Detroit, New England, all winnable games. Baltimore, maybe not a split in the division. Baltimore could beat them twice. So I don't. And then the Raiders too. Green Bay late, and then at least they get to close out with Cincinnati. But yeah, again, Baker Mayfield. I'm with Alex on that. He does have a lot to prove. But when you can run the ball like that. You have a guy like Jarvis Landry. OBJ comes back in and fits in the offense. I kind of disagree with Alex on that because the dude did always was putting up big numbers until he started yapping in Cleveland a little too much, and then unfortunately he got hurt. But I'm actually going to go with 11-6 because I don't see him with the 17th game. I just think that first part of the schedule after Kansas City, especially since they can run the ball, sets up very favorable, and they probably won't have to play any of their starters in the second half against Houston. So yeah. I go 11-6 because Houston's trash, and I actually do like Jarvis Landry a lot. I think even with OBJ back, he's still the focal point.
And see, that's the thing when it comes to me looking at this Cleveland team, because on paper, you have weapons. On paper, both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively, you have names that people have just associated with being, I would say almost all-stars. So you have the roster.
And stop stealing money.
You have the roster to get it done. But it's very difficult for me because I still don't trust Baker. Whether he has OBJ or doesn't, whether he has Jarvis or he doesn't, whether he has Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt or he doesn't.
By the way, OBJ was averaging 45 yards a game last year, so that's not exactly a good season.
No, you're right. But again, I put it square on the shoulders. I put it square on the shoulders of what Baker Mayfield can do. Now, I have always been not a fan of his. I felt like up until this past season, you had more progressive commercials than you did wins. So until you shut me up, hey, that was my MO and I was sticking to it. But when you did beat a Pittsburgh Steelers team who, for all intents and purposes, we thought were going to make a run in the postseason and they didn't. And the fact that for the first half of that game against Kansas City, the Cleveland Browns actually held their own. What that says to me is they showed me something. That they are going to go beat them dogs. It's the dog pound. But when I look at this schedule, I have to say in good conscience, they are setting themselves up to either win a lot of games and prove some haters wrong, such as Alex and partly even myself, or they're going to go back to being the same old Cleveland Browns. Now, Alex, you giving them an 11-6 record, I did not expect. Let me be very clear on that. When I looked at this, I was like, no, Alex ain't going no more than 8 wins. He's like, they're a middle of the road team. That was my thought.
Look at the schedule, bro. Look at the schedule.
Yes, sir. I did. So, okay, I'll pull it up and I'll tell you my thoughts. Here are my thoughts on the schedule. Week 1, yes, you're losing to Kansas City. But then here's a surprise for y'all. I say they win the next 4. Houston, Bears, Minnesota, and the Chargers. They lose to Arizona. They'll beat Denver. They'll beat Pittsburgh because they're at home. And they'll beat Cincinnati. So Cleveland will be 7-2 within the first half of the season, based on my assumption. Okay? Then you've got New England. And I think if New England is who we kind of want and think they're going to be this year, that's a loss. They'll beat the Lions, so that's 8. Then they've got the Ravens before their bye week and then after their bye week. Mike, I agree with you. I don't think they're going to split with the Ravens this year. I think the Ravens take those 2 from them. They'll beat the Raiders. Again, Green Bay is contingent on Aaron Rodgers. But when we did our NFC North prediction, we based everything off the fact that Aaron Rodgers would, in fact, be here. So I say that's a loss. And then they finish with Pittsburgh and Cleveland. I actually have them at 11-6. But I just think that some of those games are going to be games that it's going to really determine which Baker Mayfield shows up. But for the sake of this conversation, I give them 11-6.
Hey, bro, I don't discriminate. I'll tell you where the L's are coming from. They're losing to Kansas City. Chicago's going to pop their ass. The Chargers or Green Bay is going to catch them. All right, one of those 2 teams is going to catch them. They're not beating Arizona, and El Freaky gets them twice. That's 6 losses. The rest of the cream puffs, they get by.